Greetings once again, Shinobi. Duuz-Diz-Din, back with more Boruto, 2 Blue Vortex, where previously, the divine tree being Jura has come in search of Naruto, tracking the nine-tailed fox's chakra, only to come upon Himawari, as well as the new generation of Inoshiko Cho, who has more or less been looking after her. Ikidai, not missing a beat, immediately sends a report to the sensory unit of the location of the intruders, one unknown and one seeming to be Sasuke. Jura, actually respecting the Inoshiko Cho trio enough to inform himself on who they are, showing that he's no slouch when it comes to information, informs him that he's been tracking the nine-tailed fox's chakra signature, which has led him to Himawari. And this has just continued to pique his interest, as Jura is definitely a curious being, not so much in for the goal, but delighted by any surprises along the way. When Jura tries to go after Himawari, the young Inoshiko Cho show off their teamwork, impressing Jura to some degree, though he does admit he will kill them if they continue to interfere. Meanwhile, Kashin Koji informs Boruto that the trees have made their move, and Boruto teleports into the village using one of the toads. Boruto once again establishes his private channel through Ino with Shikamaru, letting them know that he's on his way. Meanwhile, Kawaki had been knocked out by the divine tree beings, is woken up by Delta. Delta lets Kawaki know of where the intruders are located, but Kawaki hones in on Boruto's arrival instead. Meanwhile, Shikamaru informs Boruto of what Shikadai has told him about what the divine tree beings are after, namely Himawari. Suddenly, Kawaki gets in contact with Shikamaru, who informs him about Boruto's presence. Shikamaru tries to get Kawaki to focus on the intruders, but he's undeterred and makes a beeline for Boruto. When Kawaki goes on the attack, Boruto easily manages to avoid every attack that is sent his way. However, when Kawaki activates his karma, Boruto's activates in resonance, something that causes Boruto to need to retreat, as he seems to not have control over his karma, much to the shock of Kawaki. Meanwhile, the Inoshiko Cho do their best to avoid a tail beast ball from Jura, just narrowly missing the massive explosion, making their leave on a giant bird Inojin created. And while Hidari finds them to be foolish for tempting fate and possibly dying for a friend, Jura finds their decisions intriguing, despite being outmatched and obviously aware of how easily they could kill them. The kids still fought back, something that Jura takes a massive interest in. Meanwhile, Team 10 tries to figure out what to do, with Himawari even wanting to escape on her own as a way of avoiding anyone dying trying to protect her, something they immediately nix. Suddenly, Himawari spaces out while talking to the team, and she suddenly finds herself in a very familiar looking mental plane, one where the ground is nothing but water, and a small but familiar figure appears before Himawari. And when he asks if she knows who he is, Himawari says yes, he is the Nine-Tail. It's something that I had always kind of knew was the case, but I don't remember where I had gotten the idea from. That tailed beasts don't really die. Even if a host dies or the tailed beast is extinguished to some degree, they'll just manifest in another being, which is why a lot of the tailed beasts tend to be so reckless with their hosts sometimes. But why manifest within Himawari? Join me as I find out, won't you? Nice little cover page of Himawari and the little chibi Karama. I will admit, the baggy pants style that Himawari has going on, it kind of makes me think of Kim Possible to a certain degree almost. I will admit, I certainly preferred over the style that the artist has a tendency to give other female characters, especially the young ones in this series. Dude has an obsession with legs. Alright, Boruto, 2 Blue Vortex, Chapter 10, Kernel. So like a kernel of the nine-tailed fox? We see Team 10 escaping with Himawari. Jura says, they must know they can't outrun us. Perhaps they're changing the field of battle to reduce harm to their village. Also a possibility. Hidari then notices several shinobi moving in on their position, with them calling out, "Found him! Over here!" Konohamaru calls into Shikamaru saying, "Konohamaru here," confirming 2 trespassers, but no sign of Team 10. Shikamaru tells him, "Relax, Team 10's okay for now. They've taken Himawari and are traveling southwest in order to lead the trespassers away. It's unclear why, but the duo's target is Himawari. All hands, support Team 10. The sentry unit will share their location." Kawaki hears this and immediately turns his attention, questioning Himawari. Meanwhile, Boruto is recovering from nearly having his karma take him over. I'm assuming he's also listening to this communication. Shikamaru then directs his attention to Kawaki, saying, "Listen close, Kawaki. Forget about Boruto and head to the scene. It seems Boruto considers the trespassers enemies too. We can take advantage of that. Let him stay free." And Kawaki says, "Hey, Lord Eighth, Himawari's in danger. You should have led with that bastard." And he just takes off. Well, at least, it's good to know at least he is willing to protect Himawari, if nothing else. It's good to know that his love for the Uzumaki family only stopped extending to Boruto because of the whole, Otsutsuki thing. I guess that shows that if Boruto were to suddenly somehow be cured of his Otsutsuki-ness, Kawaki would just be like, okay. Like, if you could prove to him without a shadow of a doubt Boruto's no longer Otsutsuki-fied, he'd just roll with it. Delta follows behind saying, "Kawaki, you jerk. Don't you dare leave me behind." Kawaki and Delta have ended up being the most endearing yet oddest pairing. Just 2 assholes hanging out with each other. Meanwhile, as Boruto continues to try to get his karma to subside, Shikamaru gets in communication with him asking, "Boruto, you okay? What happened?" Boruto tells him, "No worries, a minor issue. Just need a little break." He says, obviously lying, with the toad giving a ... like it's just like, "Man, you lying up a storm, kid. A ninja storm." Meanwhile, Hidari eyes down Konohamaru and the team he came in with. There was a time when the thought of Konohamaru facing off with the big bads of any story arc would have been cool. I mean, even in the Boruto anime, Konohamaru has some pretty cool moments from time to time, but you go from the manga and, Konohamaru. He always said he wanted to be Hokage after Naruto, and even though Shikamaru took over that, I don't know if he gonna become Hokage anytime soon. Hidari then questions Jura. Why in the world do they interfere with us? Jura says, "Ask them yourself," using that exact tone. Jura is amazing. I actually gotta love Jura. I shall go after Himawari, and he just takes off. As the ninjas watch, one says to Konohamaru, "Hey, they're escaping." Konohamaru says to the southwest towards Himawari as suspected. "Let's go." But naturally, Hidari stands in their way. Konohamaru says, "You're blocking our way. Why are you after Himawari?" Hidari says, "You're all so noisy. What business do you have with us?" Konohamaru's like, "Huh?" One of the other ninjas say, "What business? You clearly don't know your place, intruder," said the potential dead man. Konohamaru blocks off the ninja saying, "Wait a sec." He then gets in communication with the sensory unit saying, "Sensory unit, I was told that one of the 2 trespassers was Uchiha Sasuke, but I don't see him. What's going on?" The sensory member says, "There's no mistake. The one right in front of you. His chakra data is an exact match to that of Uchiha Sasuke Uchiha." Konohamaru's shocked, saying, "What the?" Hidari then says, "Answer my question. Are you deaf or feeble-minded?" I love some of the lines from these divine tree beings. They don't hold back. Suddenly, Sarada and Sumire come through the smoke of the recent battle as Sarada calls out to Master Konohamaru, and of course Hidari immediately draws a bead on Sarada, and as Konohamaru calls out for Sarada, Sarada questions, "Are you all okay?" And Hidari simply says, "Sarada Uchiha," which takes Konohamaru a bit off guard, as suddenly Hidari disappears under a claw mark right under his feet. Claw marks appear right underneath Sarada and Sumire, Hidari comes popping out of one of the claw marks right behind Sarada, right before she could even turn to look, and he immediately activates Chidori. Ooh, nice! Meanwhile, Sarada, without missing a beat, activates her Sharingan, dodges under Hidari, and before Konohamaru can rush in calling out for her, she activates her own Chidori and strikes at Hidari. Nice! Now that was cool. Hidari finds himself staggering and falling to the ground as Sumire calls out for Sarada. Konohamaru makes his way over asking, "You okay?" Meanwhile, Sarada's more interested in this intruder, turning to him saying, "That jutsu he attacked with, that was Chidori, just like mine and Dad." And as her eyes meet with Hidari, Sumire is also stunned to silence. As Sarada asks, "Who are you?" Ooh, things getting juicy. Meanwhile, in the mindscape, Himawari is shocked to find herself face to face with an itty bitty Kurama. It says, "I'm Kurama." "Well, Ninetales is fine too. Call me whatever you want." Himawari simply says, "Kurama? You're the bijou that used to be inside my dad, right? What are you doing here?" And then she looks around saying, "Actually, where are we?" Kurama tells her, "Nowhere real. What you see is your conscious made visible. We are currently exchanging words, mind to mind." Himawari questions, "Mind to mind?" And Kurama tells her, "Of course, because you and I are a single body and soul." Yep, congratulations, Himawari. You are the new Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. Will admit, I kinda thought that Naruto would have to die for this to happen, but turns out it had to be Kurama who died for this to happen. Go figure. Meanwhile, on Inojin's bird, they're calling out to the unconscious Himawari as Shikadai is shaking her, saying, "Hey, Himawari, it's no use, she's out cold. Did she hit her head at some point?" Meanwhile, Chocho looks back calling out for Shikadai, and as Shikadai turns, they see Jura just catching up to them like nobody's business. Shikadai calls out, "Sentry unit, we need that backup now." Like, oh my god, he's gated on us. Meanwhile, back inside the mindscape, Himawari questions, "What exactly is going on? Why is this happening?" Kurama tells her, "Just as you said, my previous self coexisted inside your father, Naruto Uzumaki. But in the midst of battle, my flame of life was extinguished." Himawari listens intently as Kurama tells her, "However, death is not eternal for us bijou. Even if our flesh or soul perishes, over time, a kernel of us will sprout somewhere, and we will manage to return to life." Himawari questions, "Kernel?" Kurama informs her, "No one knows how long it will take or where it might sprout, much less that it would be inside his daughter, and this soon." God, this feels like Attack on Titan. Or, what's another thing where if someone dies, ooh, Undead Unluck too. Like, there's a lot of different series that have made it so that if a character has a certain power and they die, that power just ends up in someone else. In some series it's an unborn child, but other series are just like, nah, you gonna get it. No matter what your age or who you are, you gonna get that power. Kurama tells a mystified Himawari, "The universe is full of mysteries. You may have been born inheriting a sliver of my chakra," which was a lot of people's theories, or this was your destiny brought into being by Uzumaki and Hyuga blood that flows within you. Also something that a lot of people thought. See, that's one of those things. A lot of people called this, but it's because it makes a certain degree of sense. We never saw the Nine-Tailed Fox's chakra manifest in Boruto in any real significant way, especially because of the whole Momoshiki thing. It's just like, I mean, we already had a situation where people were taking up residence in Naruto's head between Kushina, Minato, Kurama, just too many people taking up residence. We didn't need to repeat that with Boruto. Give him Momoshiki and the karma and all that, as well as Nine-Tailed stuff. Is like, okay, that's a little too much. But Himawari, there's always been this connection she's had to the Nine-Tailed that people have called out throughout the course of the series. And while it's not entirely impossible that Boruto to some degree has some kind of Nine-Tailed power within him, even just a little teensy teeny bit, it's always kind of been telegraphed that it was probably gonna be Himawari who got this power. And I'd rather have foreshadowing rather than a ass pull. Kurama then tells her, "Well, since it's already happened, the how doesn't matter. What's most important is accepting the circumstances and moving forward." don't you think? She's like, congratulations, you don't have a choice in this matter. Accept it and move on. That's life. Himawari pauses and then finally speaks, saying, I'm Himawari Uzumaki. Nice to meet you, Kurama. That was a lot of info to dump on someone, so... he said it himself. Accept it and move on. And Kurama says, atta girl, Himawari. And then she snaps back to reality, where Shikadai is calling out, faster, Inojin, he's catching up. And Inojin's like, we're at full throttle already. I'm giving her all she's got, Captain. She can't take much more. And Himawari turns to see Jura gaining on them. She then calls out, shocking everyone, as Himawari says, Kurama, do something. Just like her dad, already asking for fox powers, Chocho calls out Hima joyously, while Inojin says, phew, you're back with us. Himawari, who's waiting for something to happen, which, gotta love the fact that it's just like, nah, kid, you don't get it that easily. I mean, you don't have the same baggage as your dad, so, not to mention this is a little itty-bitty Kurama, so he's not gonna be like, yes, Himawari, give it to your dark side. Give in to the power of hate, Himo. Yeah, it's not gonna be like that just immediately. Although, because she doesn't have that same kind of hate or messed up baggage in her, although her parents going missing is a certain degree of baggage, but it's not the same level of baggage. She might have an easier time with the fox powers, but, I mean, little Kurama tells me she gonna get like a little itty bitty bit amount of power. And Himawari calls out again, Kurama, are you listening? Well, Shikadai's like, hey, Himawari, what's the matter? And then, in comes Jura, closing one eye and making the bittiest little tail beast bomb that he fires off, taking off the wing of Inojin's cartoon bird. And Shikadai says, for real? Damn it. And then they go plummeting to the ground as Shikadai says the obvious, shoot, we're going down. Going down swinging, we're going down, down, and around. I don't know the words that well. Oh, God. I talk about the leg fetish, but... Someone's disturbingly into this as Chocho calls out, everyone grab onto me, and she inflates her belly. I mean, it's ultimately just human boulder, but I don't know, just seeing a girl do it just throws me somewhat, but hey, equality. Chocho cushions their landing, and as they're brought to a full stop, Shikadai says, phew, you're a lifesaver, Chocho. Oh, somewhat, because Jura then lands a little ways away from them, saying, again, you're a good team. A true shame to have to dispose of you. It can't be helped. You yourselves chose this fate. Again, I gotta love the props that Jura gives to the Inoshikacho team. It's just like, wow, you guys are actually pretty impressive, even if it is just running away. Himawari then tries to call out again for Kurama, who immediately interrupts her saying, don't be a spoiled baby, Himawari, which takes her off guard. As Kurama says, the only one who can do something about this is you. Himawari then sees Jura, making his way downtown towards her. As Kurama says, it should be a no-brainer. Whether you use or quash my power, it's all up to you. Himawari says, you say that like it's easy, but am I supposed to? Kurama tells her, I can sense that your chakra has a higher affinity to mine than any of your other predecessors, more than even Naruto. Again, I also will say that it does help that, one, Kurama isn't as malevolent as he used to be, let's be honest. And two, he's a smaller version, so the power isn't easily going to overwhelm Himawari. And three, I feel like also because of the nature of Himawari being a Hyuga and the extreme chakra control that they have, it does kind of make sense. Because the Uzumakis had the abundance of power, and the Hyugas had an incredible degree of control. And her being a combination of the two could potentially have been essentially its breeding situation. We bred a prize stallion that is called Himawari. Kurama says, so get rid of any foolish conceived biases. First off, you need to believe in yourself. Otherwise, your future doesn't look bright either way. I kind of also love him taking her to task saying, look, the only one who's really going to get you out of this situation is you. So I'm going to need you to concentrate and figure this crap out. and figure it out fast. This is essentially kind of like when Naruto was thrown into the ravine when he was trying to learn the summoning jutsu and all that. The first time Naruto had really kind of used the fox's power and all that. Meanwhile, Jiraiya is taking his sweet time getting closer. I feel like he's more just interested. It's just like, okay, you guys gonna do anything else? I'm really curious. What else you guys are gonna do to try to get away from me? Shikadai calls out, damn it, where's our backup? And Himawari just rushes forward as Chocho calls out to her. And she goes in for a flying kick and, she... I shouldn't laugh at that, but I mean, she tried. Goes in for the flying kick. Jiraiya easily catches her ankle, proceeds to just effortlessly break her ankle, and Himawari's on the ground. It's like, yeah, that's about right. I'm not trying to diss Himawari, but I mean, Kurama told her, hey, try it out for yourself. Although, you know what, maybe I was wrong about that whole Kurama isn't malevolent thing. That feels like a very Kurama move. Yes, throw yourself headlong into danger. You'll get my power then. Inujin calls out for Himawari, and Himawari's just on the ground. Himawari's got the full-on Family Guy pose, just nursing that wound. And she thinks to herself, it's no good. There's no way I can. Inujin uses his cartoon beast scroll, calling out, you bastard, as he sends a little wolf pup towards Jiraiya, and Jiraiya, without even looking, summons some, tree spikes that immediately impale the beast, much to Inujin's shock. Meanwhile, Himawari, who's still on the ground, is suddenly starts to be encased by a tree growing up from underneath her. Jiraiya tells Himawari, we call it devour, but you simply become nourishment for me inside this tree. It isn't painful. There's no need to be afraid. Cut to Himawari with a very afraid look on her face, as Jiraiya says, and you'll eventually stop feeling anything, including that fractured leg of yours. Inujin, and I gotta give props to Inujin. This is the most motivated I have seen him in this entire series, at least in terms of the manga. And Inujin just says you, pulls out a kunai, rushes towards Jiraiya saying, give me a break. And Shikadai rightfully tells him, Inujin, don't! And Inujin promptly gets kicked in the gut and he's down. just watching a grown man beat up children. Although, they haven't been alive for that long, but even still. As Inujin struggles to get to his feet, Himawari calls out, please stop, leave them out of it. And Jiraiya says, I concur. I don't know why they won't stop. I love the dismissive tone they have. Oh shit. Inujin manages to grab onto Jiraiya's freaky toe thingy, trying to say let go of her, and then he's suddenly impaled on one of the trees. It's not in quite a vital spot. He could live, but he's gonna need immediate medical attention on that one. Like, that is your liver, kid. I'm pretty sure. Either that or he lost a kidney, some of his stomach. Yeah, it ain't looking good. As Chocho holds her mouth, calling out, no. Shikadai calls out for Inujin, and Himawari can only watch as Inujin, proceeds to bleed out, with tears in her eyes. And Jiraiya then says, hold on. I think I read about this somewhere. Could this be that thing known as aesthetics? Really? And then suddenly, yeah, here it comes, baby. It's that rage boost. As Himawari suddenly breaks free of her confinement in the tree. Much to the shock of Chocho, Shikadai, and even Jiraiya's eyes are a little bit wide now. As Himawari's hair, much like Kushina's, flows up and takes the form of 9 tendrils of hair. That's all the more reason. That is all the more reason for it to have been Himawari. Because you know that visual of Kushina's hair coming up like the tails of the 9-tailed fox is such a great visual. And Himawari's face lines are now more whisker-like, and she has the blackness around her eyes and the little slits and everything. It's kinda cool. As Himawari stares down Jiraiya saying, I said to stop it. As she comes ripping out of the tree, Chocho stunned to silence. Shikadai questioningly calls out to Himawari. Jiraiya then thinks, what is this sudden shift? While Kurama calls out from within, you totally snapped. Well then, shall we run amok some? Himawari? And Himawari bears her fang. You know what? I'm really starting to think I was right. Kurama wanted her to rush in headlong into danger, get her shit wrecked, and then it's just like, I need you to get mad, essentially. That's the best way to tap into what I got here, kid. I feel like the comment about Himawari being the most compatible is gonna set off like a ton of people, but I feel like, I don't remember if this was actually in the story, but they usually try to, I thought they usually tried to pass along tailed beasts within the bloodline because that made it easier for the transfer. You had a better chance of compatibility, less of a chance of the tailed beast breaking free and all that. And technically, it's been specifically passed down the Uzumakis for like the longest time. From Mito to Kushina to Naruto to Himawari, like it's been in the family for a good long time. Actually, I think it was mostly because it was supposed to be that it was better to have them have some relation to the Hokage. Although we see that didn't always work out too well. The whole history of Jinchuriki is already kind of shaky to some degree. Yeah, see, it was said in Naruto. I had to look it up. In chapter 503, it was stated that tailed beasts cannot permanently die. If the Jinchuriki dies, the chakra will reform, and that was in the Naruto manga itself. This is not something that was just pulled inside of Boruto. Because I feel like so many people will say this, but no, it was said in Naruto. Yeah, it was in the scene where Kushina was about to die. He was going to try to take the Nine Tails with her, and she said that if she took the Nine Tails with her to her death, it would take a while for him to reemerge. But yeah, I knew I had remembered seeing that at some point, and was just like, that feels like it would have been relevant, but it's never come up again. Here it is, coming right back on up again. So good on Naruto, or should I say Boruto, for actually going upon a plot thread that, let's face it, never felt like it was really going to come up again. But then again, the Three Tails was sealed inside Rin, and she died with it, and it had to reappear. So we've seen that before, right? I'm pretty sure. But I love this. Himawari looking like her grandma. Although, unfortunately, because she doesn't have the red hair, she can't be the red hot habanero. So while I feel like a lot of people will give this chapter a lot of guff, it does kind of very much fall in line with a lot of things that have already been set up. Also the specialness of the Hyugas and the Uzumakis and all that. I feel like that's a better explanation as to why Himawari is so compatible with Kurama, as it were. Now, if she can just get like the tailed beast cloak, but also have her mother's kind of gentle fish where she had the like lions on her hands and stuff, but they're Kurama faces, that will be amazing. Yeah, the gentle step twin lion fist, but Himawari does it and it's like twin fox fist or something like that. That could be so cool. That could be so cool. Like, I am ready to rename this series Himawari, baby. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din and hope to see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.